Good morning, and welcome to Coffee Talk with Quinn and Jen. Unfortunately, Quinn is not with us this morning. She is on special assignment at Harry Potter World. But today we have a special guest. This is Will Kruger, PTA extraordinaire. Good morning, Will.
Good morning.
Excellent. Still looking for sponsorship. Anyway, I was asking Will about some techniques about low back pain. And he brought up some interesting FMS information, and I thought we could share some today. What do you think about that, Will?
I'd be happy to. It would be an honor.
I was just thinking how damn good you look in that shirt.
I like your shirt too, and I noticed the color scheme for your pants. Also, very nice.
Excellent. Well, moving on. Let's talk about this toe touch progression. I was interested in it when you mentioned it about how somebody could come in with back pain, have severe guarding, and walk out with full mobility to touch their toes after an acute episode.
So I think we've all seen it, and we've had the patient that comes in and says, I've always had tight hamstrings, I have low back pain, I can't touch my toes. And so the first thing we try to make them do is touch their toes, obviously, when they tell you they can't do it. So we want to watch them, make fun of them, tell them they can't do it, confirm that they can't do it.
It's terrible people.
But either way, a lot of the time when we see this patient with the low back pain, with the chronic guarding and the hip tightness and everything, really it's more of a motor control issue than we would see as like an actual physical muscle tightness. Granted, we do see that too, but at the same time, that patient oftentimes has poor control of their core. Does have some tight hamstrings in many cases, but the other component to that is, we want to look at their weight shifting, if they're actually getting a posterior weight shift, if they're getting the ability to, bring that weight back so that they can get that full motion, and then that motion involves a lot of core strength and the ability to control the pelvis, keep it stable.
Okay, so if I were to walk through the door,
Right.
and what would be the first thing that you would have me do?
Okay. Well,
Let's have a demo.
In this toe touch progression, right?
Okay.
So, Jen has back pain. Jen has this complaint of tight hips and always has the
Sure.
That's a great shirt. And so I'd say, all right, well, stand with your feet close together, okay? And I'd want to watch you just go nice and slow, hands down the fronts of your leg, and see how far down you can go.
Oh.
Right there. And where do you feel that?
Oh, right here.
Okay. Anything in your hamstrings at all?
A little tightness.
Yeah.
But back pain.
Okay, got it. So we've seen that patient. I'm sure everybody has. Come on over to the table. I'm gonna have a look at your actual hamstring length now. So we test them actively, and then we look at them passively.
Let's go over to this table.
Go over to this table. Okay. So I'm gonna get Jen and just do a little normal hamstring test, which, I mean, he's got hamstrings for days. So with this amount of range of motion, a normal person should be able to touch their toes. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Okay, I agree too. Come on off this table for me. So what I'll do is I'll take Jen through a little toe touch progression. So not only am I going to take out the hamstrings, so by putting his heels up onto a box, we're essentially, we're putting the hamstrings on a little bit of slack, okay? And so I'm gonna get his heels up on the box, see if he can go down and touch his toes, see if he has the same complaints of hip tightness or hamstring tightness or low back pain, and I'm also looking at his posterior weight shifting, okay? So he has a decent amount of posterior weight shift. Where do you see or where do you feel any pain? Do you have any tightness?
It would be more hamstring tightness in this area.
I'm also going to look at his back too, right? He's kind of got this bamboo spine thing going on right now. So I would probably address some of that spinal mobility and make sure that spine is moving. Come on back up for me a bit. Another thing I'll do is grab either a yoga block or a foam roll or something like that. So my goal here is not just a parlor trick to get Jen to touch his toes by the end of the session, but also to get the core turned on. So I'm going to play around with some pattern assist. I'm going to play around with some extension-based things, because if it hurts for him to go into flexion, I can engage his core by him going into extension, get that going, and then hopefully have a little bit more pelvic and lower pelvic stability for this toe touch thing we're gonna do. So I'd have him get back on the FMS kit here. Stick this between your knees. Squeeze that as tight as you can. We know that getting some adductor muscle going will get the core going. So then I'd have him try to do 2 or 3 more all the way down. And we're looking at spinal curves, so try to get that segmental motion through the spine.
Dang! This is actually my actual flexibility. Previously, not as much, but with adduction, definitely difference.
Okay, and then we'll ditch this, and then I try a little extension thing. So I'd have him grab onto maybe a sport cord, up over your head, follow your hands with your eyes, extend all the way back as far as you can. You don't have to swing for the fences right away, but maybe get 15 or so of these in. And I'm looking for spinal extension and motion. If there's any pain, we'll address that. But really, he should start feeling this in through the abdominals.
If Doobie were here, he would be making fun of my lats.
Okay. Pick your favorite core exercise. I might get him supine and do, a simple core progression. But ultimately, the goal is to get that core turned on. And then I would retest him. This is the parlor trick point. We're not on the box, so come off the box for me. And then I would just retest and see how much further he can get. And I know he was kind of playing into the role at the start, but the idea is 8 or 9 out of 10 patients that you see with that complaint at the beginning of the treatment will end up, by the end of it, saying, holy crap, I haven't touched my toes in years.
And so would you say it's the posterior weight shifting, core engagement, combination of multiple other things?
Yeah, I mean, when you rule out that tight hamstring, okay, and you rule in weak core, I would say observing that posterior weight shift, if you don't see that, train that first. Train, take the hamstrings out so that they're not relying on those for stability by the 2-inch box. Get the core turned on. And so, yes, to answer your question, I think that the keys out of that are the posterior weight shift, the core engagement, and then watching spinal mobility and seeing if you can add that too.
Excellent. Well, I think we should finish off with
I'm gonna have another sip
of coffee. Will Kruger, it's a pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you.
Well, I've met you before. Thanks for being on
This is delightful.
Quinn and Jen's Coffee Talk. Till next time.